stand up, Buster?
I do.
Is that Buster?
Yes, sir.
And is Brooklyn seated next to him? Can you stand up, Brooklyn? Is that Brooklyn?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, Your Honor. That's all the questions I have.
So there's Buster Murdaugh and his fiancée girlfriend. I'm not exactly sure of the status. I don't think it necessarily matters, but they're together, and that's Brooklyn. Brooklyn White is her name, and they're identified in court. And Buster, if you've watched the documentaries, there's Buster seems to be somewhat implicated in a prior incident involving a young man named Stephen Smith. Now, no charges against him. I believe there may be an investigation going on, but he hasn't been charged with anything. But a lot of people are wondering, you know, what's going on. And I want to play you this little clip. And this is after, I believe this is after the conviction of Alex Murdaugh. And we hear a voice in it talking about Buster. Take a listen.
How does Buster feel about you being found guilty?
All right, and we paid attention to it when we heard that, because a lot of people have been talking about this, about what happened to Stephen Smith. Is this going to be the next case? I think Chanley Painter spoke with Stephen Smith's mother. But now let me show you what's been happening. And I got these reports that there was someone following or harassing Buster and Brooklyn. So we looked it up. We've got part of the police report I want to show you. And this is what the police report is saying. On the evening of 3/6/2023, Brooklyn White exited her residence and witnessed a reporter looking into the windows of her vehicle. White is familiar with this reporter, who she identified as Jonathan Lee Riches. White explained that for the last few weeks, Riches has been following her and Buster while at the courthouse in Colleton County, South Carolina. She's aware of how Riches found her. She's unaware of how Riches found her residence. White showed me a YouTube channel called Jonathan Lee Riches Investigates, which includes videos Riches has posted heckling Buster at the courthouse. Buster has requested to not be listed in the involvements or any subsequent reports due to privacy concerns. So I look at that and I say, wait a minute, I know who Jonathan Lee Riches is. He's got a YouTube channel. He covers all true crime stories around the nation. As a matter of fact, I spoke to him at the courthouse one day. I think he was streaming live, and we were talking while we were waiting for the verdict. So I said, let's get the other side of the story. So joining me tonight in Tampa, Florida, host of Jonathan Lee Riches Investigates on YouTube, Jonathan Lee Riches is with us. Jonathan, great to see you.
Great to see you, Vinny. Thanks for having me on. Happy Friday.
All right. So what's your side of this story? We've got this allegation that you're following, perhaps stalking these folks at the courthouse. You're looking in the car. What's your version of what's been happening here?
So that's 100% not true, Vinny. I'm doing what every other media outlet is doing down at. First off, I don't really know who Brooklyn White is. I can, not to be mean, but I can care less about Brooklyn White. I'm more about Buster Murdaugh. I'm more about Buster and his role in possibly Stephen Smith. So while they were at the trial, I would ask Buster, while he was going in and out of the court, what happened to Stephen Smith? Did you murder Stephen Smith? And then I also asked other questions about him getting kicked out of law school for plagiarism or whatnot, but he would never answer. He was always quiet. He would just stare straight. And a lot of my subs and a lot of my followers on my Jonathan Lee Riches Investigates channels are suspect of that. They want to know why he doesn't answer that question, because, you know, Stephen Smith's case is a mystery. You know, found on the side of the road in the middle of the night, July 8th, 2015, on a remote road right near Alex Murdaugh's home. And then there's a lot of rumors and speculations about the ties possibly between Stephen Smith and Buster. So, you know, I kept asking him questions. He wouldn't answer. So after the trial, you know, I seen a lot of media outlets down there at one of the homes Buster Murdaugh stays at in Hilton Head. So I went down there to see what was up, maybe tried to get Buster to answer the questions, or, you know, try to get an interview out of him. And there's lots of media out there. It's a circus out in front of his house. There's lots of media taking pictures every time he comes out, walks his dog, every time he goes walking. And I was out there, and she actually, I guess Brooklyn, a female, walked out of the house and walked to her car, and some reporters started yelling questions at her about Buster. She immediately went in the house, and close these blinds. But then Buster like peeks out of the blinds. He looks, and then he closes the blinds. And then about 15 minutes later, the police come and then tell all the media outlets, well, you guys are on public property because it's a public road out there and a public sidewalk. You're not breaking the law. Just don't trespass on their property, and just do not knock on their door or go on their property. And we all agreed, said, okay, fine. That's good. Thank you for your service, because we back law enforcement. And I was sitting in my car, and then all these neighbors start coming out, shining flashlights at all the media's face, saying, get out of here. You guys are media hounds. Get away, get away. And I left. And then next thing I know, I see that a police report has been filed with my name and this woman here I don't even know, name dropping. I could care less, not to be mean again, I could care less about her. I'm not there for her. I'm there for Buster.
Let me bring in another guest in Columbia, South Carolina, criminal defense attorney Lori Murray. Lori, down in South Carolina, where's the line? Where's the line between investigative reporting, trying to get a story, asking questions of someone who's in a public controversy versus harassment or stalking or anything else? Where's the line in South Carolina?
Well, it's repeated unwanted contact. It's following them wherever they go. It is sitting outside their house and watching them and just making them feel like they are not free to move around. And honestly, I mean, that it is kind of what the media is doing. I'm not specifically mentioning your guest, but the media in general has been really hard on Buster, and he's going through a rough time. I think we have to all agree that he is going through a rough time. And if you have any empathy at all, then you have to recognize that. And he needs a little space to get over it. He needs a little space to be able to walk his dog. But there is
so how much space? I mean, if someone is walking down a public street, can we ask them questions in South Carolina?
I mean, you can, but it's his right not to answer them. And I don't think that, I mean, I don't know why we have to take something away from the fact that he wouldn't answer his questions. I wouldn't answer his questions. I would ignore him too, because if he gives one guy questions, they're just going to keep flying at him. And honestly, it's paparazzi. It's, you know, it's just, none of the Murdaughs wanted any part of that. But, you know, there is a point to these two reports. They have to have two reports to get a restraining order against the police. So that's why they've called the police. That's why they have reported this to police. I'm sure it's nothing personal against your guest. I'm sorry, I cannot remember your name.
Jonathan.
But Jonathan, thank you. I appreciate that. Sorry. But I'm sure it's nothing personal against you, but you have to have two police reports to get a restraining order. And this restraining order will go more than likely, if the judge is smart enough, against all media, not just you personally, but against all media back off of Buster and his residence.
I just want a little more clarity, right? Because I've been in news for a long time. I mean, you go back to 60 Minutes, Mike Wallace chasing people, right? So what's the difference? Like, what's the difference here between a situation like that? Is it how close in physical proximity you get to him, or how often you are close to him in South Carolina?
I can't tell you. I can only tell you what our statute said. I don't know where he was. I don't know what their statute was. I know that over time, we have gotten a whole lot stricter on stalking laws. You know, there've been, especially in South Carolina, we had I think this is actually a new stalking law that is on our books. And I say new because it was new to me. It's probably 20 years old now. But you know, there was a reason that stalking law was enacted. It wasn't because of media, but it applies to everybody. That harassment. Okay. To get the restraining order, you have to have the two police reports.
So, Jonathan, have you been contacted personally by law enforcement or by anyone representing Brooklyn or Buster?
No, law enforcement, again, they came out that day and said that we were all following the law. We were on a public sidewalk, public road. We have the right to be there. Just don't, you know, violate by going onto someone else's property and trespass. I want to add that, you know, if Buster Murdaugh said out of his own mouth to me personally, hey, leave me alone, I would leave him alone. I would walk away. But I haven't heard nothing out of his mouth. As far as Brooklyn, I don't know her, and I can care less about her. This is about getting questions from Buster. Maybe he should tell people he doesn't want to speak. But the fact that he's silent, we don't know if he wants to speak or not. He hasn't said to anyone, hey, I don't want to talk, or leave me alone. He has yet to say that.
So you're down in Tampa right now, Jonathan. You on a different story? Or are you going back to South Carolina?
I am. I'm going to follow the financial crimes of the Murdaugh family. Lori Vallow-Daybell is going on trial in Idaho starting April 3rd. I am planning to go out there. Also cover the Moscow, Idaho case with Brian Kohlberger, preliminary hearing.
I have a feeling I'm going to be seeing a lot of you,
26th.
Jonathan. I'm going to be seeing a lot of you.
I'm
going
all
all these
over, Vinny.
cases. All right.
Vinny, I'm all over, and that's my job. And I know that you know, there's laws you have to follow, and I try my best to follow them.
All right, and I wanted to make sure that you knew what you can and can't do in South Carolina. That's why I brought in Lori Murray. She's the best of the best down there. So don't get arrested.
She seems very smart.
Yeah, she is.
Well, and here's the thing.
We have 15 seconds. Go ahead. Last word,
15
Lori.
seconds. You did not break the law necessarily. They're filing these police reports just to get a restraining order. It's nothing personal against you. It's just to get the restraining order. They're not seeking to press charges against you.
We got to the bottom of it.
Thank you for the clarification.
Fantastic. Jonathan Lee Riches, YouTube.
Thank you, Vinny.
Thank you
Love
so
you.
much. Lori Murray, appreciate your valuable time every time you have you on.